What's up, guys? Good morning. It's John Dominique, the Soul Proponent. Merry Christmas to everybody. Today I want to talk a little bit about this idea that I got on my morning walk about pristine suspension. And what this is referring to is a state of floating, a state of being buoyant, a state of being lighthearted, a state of being free and liberated. There's a pristineness on the path to the soul. We have to become purified of everything that's in the way of us experiencing spiritual awakening and enlightenment. The truth that sets us free means that the freedom that we feel is going to make us feel like we're suspended by the universe, supported by space itself. We become lighthearted, we become buoyant, we become suspended in pristine, immaculate clarity. The path of the soul is partly a process of elimination until there's nothing left. And that's what refers to the pristine, the purity, the soul being born pure of a virgin. The purity of the virgin is about divesting ourselves of all of our holdings, or even our unconscious longings and desires for anything that we think will bring us pleasure and help us avoid suffering and pain. And there's a lot of unconscious desires. The most tenacious one that I want to point out is the holding of the identity, the need to be somebody, to be a person, to survive and to exist. That's the most basic one. So we need to purify ourselves of our attachments to this desire, and this takes a long time because our whole lives are built around resisting this, basically. If you look at it deeply, you can see that everything we're trying to do is the opposite of this process of pristine suspension. We're trying to reach, we're trying to grab, we're trying to hold on, we're trying to lock ourselves. We're trying to fixate ourselves on something, anything. Something is better than nothing, no matter even how bad that something is, a lot of times. But we need to allow ourselves to relax into the emptiness that will result when we start walking the path, because that's what we're going to feel. There's going to be more emptiness, and we have to allow that emptiness in its entirety. And that's where people tend to they don't want to allow that to happen fully. They will want to do it just part way, or they just want the parts of it that make them feel good, and they don't want to deal with the parts that are difficult. And that's natural, but we have to take the good with the bad, and we have to be able to stay with the process of supporting our truth, no matter the cost, no matter the price, and to continue to do that without ceasing, without quitting. In our minds, we can't even have the slightest inclination of a desire, of a want, of a motivation or an intention to do something other than to just be. So the pristine suspension is about feeling this presence of clarity, an atmosphere of openness, and an awareness of being suspended by the universe, being suspended by space, staying vulnerable to our environment. And that's a very difficult thing, because the identity has this unconscious motive to draw boundaries, to avoid what's bad, and to go towards what's good. And that's part of the downfall. That tendency to judge is part of this pristine suspension. We need to apply this pristine suspension. We need to apply that principle towards this need to judge everything. And the way we do that is by practicing defending ourselves against judgment. When we see that there's a judgment, judgment is a downfall of mankind. And we need to see that judgment, we need to actually begin to let go of the need for judgment. Let go of our fixations. Allow what's there to be there without needing to judge it. That's part of the clarifying. That's part of divesting ourselves. That's part of the pristineness. The clarity is about making a straight path for the Lord. It's about keeping your house swept clean. There's going to be emptiness. There's going to be nothingness. There's going to be unconscious feelings. Because it feels like a lack of support really is what's going to happen. That's what's going to be left once we let go of these fixations and these desires and our need for judgment. So the pristineness is about burning away, peeling back, revealing. It's a process of elimination of everything that's in the way of us experiencing spiritual awakening in God. And we have to be able to continue on this path forever without trying to get something, without trying to get something good and to avoid something bad. That's a very difficult thing to do because it's very vulnerable, it's very tender, it's very sensitive, this area. We have a lot of histories that we have to continue to experience multiple times over and over. We keep coming back to places of feeling worthless, for example. When we feel that emptiness, we think that worthlessness is the entirety of our makeup. We think it's going to last forever. It's never going to change, and we have to continue to feel it. We don't want to feel it anymore. But that's kind of part of the path. We have to suspend ourselves, suspend our desires, suspend our needs, our attachments, our fixations. We start off small. It's not like we're going to do this all together in a week or so. This is going to take years. That's why meditation is so important. When we sweep away all the voices in our heads, all of our internalized authority figures, all of the judgments that we have picked up from our society and civilization, and the need to advance and enhance our survival as a species, we see that all of these are barriers and blocks. There's multiples. It almost never ends, and we have to continue to suspend our beliefs in who we think we are, our beliefs in our desires, suspend our need to have a belief, the need to have needs. We suspend all of our desires to have comforts and pleasures and relationships and family and cars and jobs and careers and houses and the American dream, quality clothing, even food and water, shelter, like all these, even our basic necessities. Eventually we'll have to confront our attachments to them. And we're going to be kind of purified that when Jesus was stripped of all his clothing and scourged, that's kind of, the crown of thorns put on him. That's kind of the process of what's going to happen to us. That's what it represents. It represents our own clearing, our own process of purification, until there's a clarity, until there's an emptiness and there's a nothingness. When John the Baptist comes and says, make the path straight, make a clear path for the Lord, that's part of the process of spiritual awakening. It's an emptying, it's a divesting ourselves of everything that's in our minds. Our minds are meant to be empty. Our minds are not meant to be always having activity and churning and content of our mind. And it's to the point where we become empty, not of just of content, but it's more of we become one with the emptiness itself, with the container of the content of our minds. We become one with the fabric. We allow ourselves to dissolve into the emptiness, into the spaciousness, into the fabric of the universe, and we become one with the universe. That's one of the steps on the process of spiritual awakening, on the path to the soul. There's a way to suspend ourselves, suspend our needs, suspend our longings, suspend our desires. We start small. We do it for maybe a minute or two. Maybe we can let go of something small at the beginning. Maybe, if we watch ourselves, we can see that we're always running to eat sweets. When something bad happens, we can watch that, and then we can suspend our need to have sweets for a while, maybe for an hour or two, just delay the process. And we build from that slowly to something larger. Maybe we have an addictive personality, and we know that maybe we're a smoker, and maybe we can delay the need to smoke a cigarette when we have like a stressful event in our lives and there's a compulsion. We just, okay, well, maybe I won't smoke this right now. I'm gonna delay my need to smoke for an hour or two, and then we build on that, and maybe next time we'll do it for 2 or 3 hours, and maybe it'll be half a day next time, and then the next time it'll be maybe a week, and then we just continue to build like that. And that's the same way on this process of suspending ourselves and our attachments and our fixations. It's the same process. Like on the path of the soul, we begin to look in other areas of our lives, and we start to develop and grow all aspects of our lives in all areas, and apply that same model of suspending, of a pristine suspension into all areas of our lives. And we can see how we can apply that. In theory, it all makes sense. It's like if we practice non-attachment and then practice non-attachment towards the practice of non-attachment together, in theory, we can see that makes sense, and that's what will lead us to freedom that we long for. But these are just words. It's easier said than done. Like, you have to actually practice and put this in a practical manner. We have to apply this and take it as far as we can go until we have our spiritual awakening. And it's not a matter of looking for the spiritual awakening, and it's not a matter of, I have a goal to have a spiritual awakening. The awakening will happen as a side effect, as a natural side effect. It's not something to go after. It happens naturally if we just continue to follow the truth, follow the process, trust it, and develop our basic trust to see that the universe is there to help us, and that everything we go through, even the tough things that we experience on the path, are there to help us grow and develop. We can be thankful for them. We can be grateful. We can look back and laugh at them sometimes. We can see that they're there. These feelings of worthlessness that keep coming up on the path all the time, over and over, and we keep repeating these same compulsions and these same patterns. We know that they're there because that's showing us something. It's helping us to grow. It's like when a pearl develops, like there's these irritations, and we have to allow those irritations and be totally transparent to them, and not try to let our defenses overtake us, and let our defensiveness become so to overwhelm us and overtake our behaviors, to the point where we can't feel the emptiness, the underlying worthlessness, the underlying nothingness. So it's very tricky. Like, there's a lot of unconscious motivations here we need to see and understand. It takes a long time to fully understand ourselves, and fully understand what's happening, to comprehend all the unconscious issues that are affecting our path, affecting our growth and development on this path. So there's a pristine suspension there, is what I'm talking about. There's like this, when we get to the point where we can get silent and still and allow the emptiness, allow ourselves to be dissolved in space, allow ourselves to be erased out of existence for a good long time. We can do that longer and longer, and we start to crave that. After a while, we can see that when we come out of that emptiness, we feel that there's this peace, that there's this subtle what's the word I want to use? There's like a perennial cosmic craving that we kind of like the emptiness. We can see how peaceful that becomes. It becomes tranquil. It becomes a refuge. It becomes a source of our well-being. It comforts us. It becomes our environment. It cares for us. And it begins to transform. Our relationship to it begins to transform. The emptiness it's not scary anymore. It becomes something that we like, that we see supports us, that's something that's good for us. It's something that's necessary for our well-being. So yeah, we end up suspending ourselves and continuing to allow ourselves to be suspended in that emptiness for a good long time, and to continue for that, to allow that emptiness to purify us till we become one with that emptiness and there's nothing left. Our attachments are gone. Our unconscious desire for an identity is gone. The desire to survive is gone. The need to have a future is gone. Like all these unconscious, all the concepts that we're trying to reach for and grab and hold on to and fixate ourselves become not important anymore. What becomes important is the substance of the fabric that's holding us, that we're becoming one with, and it takes over our lives. It begins to grow and develop and show us things that we didn't even know existed, and we just start to listen. We just become still and silent and allow it's there to show us its treasures, to reveal itself. It's a process. Allow that to continue to happen. It's a long journey, and enjoy the journey. That's part of the beauty of it. Like, we start to enjoy it, we start to like it, we know that this is important, and everything else fades to the background. All of our life's worries, our troubles, of course, it's not saying to just ignore all these issues in our lives. We have to live our lives to some degree, and all of our basic needs need to be met on some level, but there's going to be a point where we're going to have to face the fear of not knowing that our needs are going to be met. That's part of the process. That's part of the purification. That's part of the clarification. So the pristine suspension, that's part of it. The pristineness. It's like, okay, so the soul is born pure of a virgin. It's the purity, that's what it's referring to. The purity, the emptiness, the nothingness, the suspension. We're going to be ending up feeling like we're space and we're nothing. There's this emptiness and a blackness. Allow that there to happen. It's not an easy task, and you have to want this more than you want anything else. It's almost like you have to live your life and see and try to reach and grab for everything you think is going to resolve all your issues, until the point where you see nothing's going to do it. And then, like, it's a matter of giving up. It's a matter of it's an effortlessness. It's just a relaxing into it. It's not trying to do it. It's just a matter of, it's a process of elimination, a deductive process. And that's where people go wrong. People think there's something that they need to do. It's not that. It's the opposite. It's the need to undo the need to do. Or that's like, we have to stop trying and stop efforting and just allow ourselves to be. And that's a difficult thing, because that's not our usual mode of operation. So we have to allow ourselves to be suspended in that not doing, and that effortlessness, and that nothingness, and that need to try to do something has to dissolve itself into nothingness. And that's part of the process. There's a pristine suspension. We become buoyant, we become light, we become one with the fabric that's holding us. We become one with the universe, with the surroundings, with our environment. That universe, if we stretch our minds and our consciousness as far and as deep as we can into that emptiness and that nothingness, there's going to be an awakening at one point. Your eyes are going to be opened, and you're going to see that you're that universe, there's an awakening and enlightenment. This might sound far-fetched, but you have to experience it for yourself. I mean, I could talk about this all day, but unless you go and try and put all your efforts forth into this field, into this way of thinking, and to allowing yourself to become purified in that emptiness and suspend yourself to become one with the pure, pristine suspension, doesn't really do much good until you actually feel the value of that, until you feel the goodness, and you feel and you know that this is everything you've longed for all your life. All your life you've been looking for the feeling of value, a feeling of being complete. This is where it is. This is the source of it. So, this pristine suspension, this is a concept that we can apply towards the practice of spiritual awakening. The pristineness is all about the purification process, becoming clarified, becoming one, and allowing ourselves to dissolve into emptiness and nothingness until there's not even existence anymore, not even the thought, not even an awareness of being aware. That's part of the process, to allow that to be there, to allow us to continue to ourselves, to invest ourselves in seeing what it's about and allowing it to show us, and allowing it to envelop us, to dissolve our identity, to burn away all of our impurities, all of our attachments, all of our longings, all our desires, all of our hopes. All of that, that's part of the pristineness, and making a clear path, make it straight, keeping our minds empty. Our minds are not meant to be full of all these thoughts and these churnings and activities of trying and wanting and grasping and longing. Our minds are not meant for that. Our minds are meant to be empty. We need to sweep our house and become clean and pure. Clean the inside of the cup, and the outside will also become clean. And then the suspension part is about, again, we become buoyant. We become one with that emptiness. The space will become our a loving, holding environment for us. It supports us, and we start to feel light. We start to see, we start to listen a little bit deeper into it and become still with it, and it supports us. It transforms that emptiness. Our relationship to it transforms, not into a fear, but into a gentle lovingness, a holding environment that's there for us to care for all our needs without exceptions, without failure. That's the basic trust that we long for, that we seek all of our lives. Like, that we don't know that we're seeking for this, but this is where it's at. We think we can get it from getting a situation that'll comfort us and bring us nurturing and love and approval from someone. That's not it. That's a false version, because it's always dependent on something. But this version of being suspended, and that suspension in that environment, that loving environment that we want and we long for, is unconditional. It's always there without failure. It's there for us all the time. But we have to put away all of our attachments and our desires and our longings and stay with the process of allowing that to happen. So there's a pristine suspension here. There's a buoyancy that upholds us. It becomes an environment that supports us. And that's what happens on the path to the soul. We need to experience this for ourselves and see how this works in our own experience. So the pristine suspension is very important. My message is here to help people understand, and see what their own process is about. This is what I experience, and I hope this can help somebody somewhere. I know if you know ahead of time what to expect, I think that'll make things easier for people, I hope. Any comments, questions, suggestions, let me know. I hope everybody has a good Christmas. And John Dominique, the Soul Proponent. Peace.